Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Elena if you're new here, and today we are talking about 7 mindset shifts that will make life easier. Because let's be honest, life can feel kind of hard sometimes as it is. So if there are certain things that we can do to bring more simplicity into our lives and make it easier, then why not do them? There are all of these little things that might not seem super significant in the moment, but can really add up over time and really drain our time, our energy, and even our happiness. I found that all of these little mindset shifts have really helped me simplify my life and make life more easeful, and it has helped me take all of that time and energy, and instead of wasting it away in these ways, I can now put it towards focusing on what's actually important to me. So let's get into it. For the first mindset shift, we are starting with something a little more physical, and that is to give everything a home. This includes things like books, jewelry, clothes, and especially for more like seemingly random items that you don't really know where to put, like, I don't know, extra light bulbs or rubber bands, or just things that don't clearly fit into an obvious category. Especially for those things, it is so important to find a place for them and make sure that that is their home and where they belong and where they go. This makes things easier because one, when you are tidying up, you actually know where to put things, so it just makes the whole process so much less demanding on your brain power. And number two, you know where to find them when you need them, because ideally they will be in the home that you gave them. So no more wasting time looking for things, no more trying to figure out, oh, where did I leave that? Because everything has a home. My phone has a home. It has its own little charging station. My keys have a home. My wallet has a home. All of these important things that sometimes we could otherwise forget or lose, when we have a home for them, we know where they should be. And when we stick to what those homes are, then it makes everything so much simpler. Okay, mindset shift number 2 is understanding opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is basically the acknowledgement that every yes is a no to something else. Whenever you accept something, you are automatically rejecting all the other things that you could be doing with that time or that energy. And when you understand that, and when you value your time and energy, then all of a sudden not everything is worth saying yes to. I think a lack of understanding of this is where a lot of resentment can come from, because you are saying yes to things that are not actually worth it to you. And when we do that, the resentment can build up and we can start blaming other people or other things or other circumstances for what is really just our own lack of boundaries and our own lack of understanding that when we say yes, we are already losing things in the process. And that doesn't mean obviously that we never say yes, because there are things that are so worth it. There are things that we would gladly give up a day or a week or a month of our time to do, but it's about knowing what those things are and what those things aren't. And I get that this can be hard to grasp and even harder to actually implement in your life, because it's natural not to want to disappoint others or feel like you're missing out or feeling guilty or like you're acting selfishly. Especially for women, we are often encouraged from a young age to put other people's needs before our own. The path to understanding opportunity cost and evaluating these kinds of things accurately is to develop self-worth and self-love so that you can confidently say no to things. This is something that evolves over time. Something that you would have been really happy to take the opportunity for years ago may no longer feel worth it because you have different priorities, because maybe your time is more valuable now as you've gotten busier or as other things have happened in your life. And that's fine. It's not about judgment, and it's also not about ego of thinking like you're too good for something. It's just about knowing what is important to you, what's worth it to you, and knowing that about yourself makes decision making so much easier. Now, kind of on the flip side, point 3 is about releasing sunk costs. There's something called the sunk cost fallacy, which if you haven't heard about before, Google defines as the phenomenon whereby a person is reluctant to abandon a strategy or course of action because they have invested heavily in it, even when it is clear that abandonment would be more beneficial. I feel like a really obvious example for something like this might be if you went to school for a certain program and you studied it for 2 years and you have 2 more years before you graduate, but then 2 years in you realize, oh my gosh, I actually don't want to do this. I don't want the jobs that come after this. I don't like this anymore, or I've decided I want to pursue something else. And sometimes people will look back at all of the time and energy they have already invested in something, or literal money that they've also invested in something, like 2 years of schooling, and they might say, okay, well, I'm already halfway through. What's 2 more years? I might as well finish my degree. Instead of acknowledging realizing that maybe actually abandoning the program and realigning with the direction that you actually want to go in might be the better choice. Because at that point, regardless of which decision you make to finish the program or to ditch it and try something else, you are not going to get those 2 years back either way. So are you going to waste a further 2 years on something that you know is not right for you? Or are you going to be able to let go of the past, let go of the investments of whatever kind that you have made in the past 2 years to move towards what you actually want to do? This can be applied to careers as well. What if you were in a career for 10 years and suddenly you decide, actually, I don't want to be on this career path anymore, or I want to try something new? And you might think, oh, I have already done 10 years of this. I already have worked my way up to senior management or whatever the case is. And it might feel like you are just throwing that away. But the truth is, it's already thrown away. Regardless of what your next steps are, whether you choose to stay or leave, you are never going to get those 10 years back no matter what. Not being able to let go of that just means that you are going to continue to be controlled by the past instead of working towards the future that you actually want. So making this mindset shift of understanding sunk costs and not letting them hold you back anymore can really simplify decisions, because now you are making decisions based on the future, based on your goals, based on the experience and the knowledge that you've gained, instead of letting your past decisions dictate your future. Okay, mindset shift number 4 is to stay focused on the true end goal. When we set a goal, we do so because we believe that the achievement of that goal is going to make us feel a certain way. There is some kind of benefit or reward to us from its achievement. That's why we want it. And of course, we are going to have goals that are tied to, providing for our basic human needs. And that has a lot more to do with, staying alive than necessarily our feelings or emotions. But anything beyond the bare bones basics is about emotion. Think about any goal that you have ever had. Ask yourself why you wanted it over and over and over again. And eventually you will find that at the core of it all was the desire to feel a certain way. For example, let's say you want a promotion, right? You are already having your basic needs covered. That promotion is simply a boost to that in some way. And if you were to ask yourself, for example, why do I want this promotion? And it's like, well, maybe you want more money. Okay, why do you want more money? Well, because I want to be able to, renovate my kitchen or spend more money on vacations, or I want to be able to help out my family. And then you ask, okay, why do you want those things? And when you just continue down that chain of saying why, maybe you would get to the conclusion that you want a promotion because it makes you feel like you are good enough, because it's going to make you feel like you can be the generous person that you want to be in this world. Maybe you want a promotion because it will prove to people that you are smart or successful or powerful. And you can do this with any goal. You can do this with the goals that you have at the gym. You can do this with goals that you have for making more friends or building community. And whatever that feeling is at the end of your line of questioning of whys, I like to think of that feeling as the true end goal. The reason I like to do this is because this now allows me to adopt something that I like to call flexible discipline. I know, how can discipline be flexible? Sounds like an oxymoron, but I promise you it's not, and here's why. When I have flexible discipline, I allow myself to stay focused on that true end goal, on that true feeling that I want to have, rather than getting lost in nitty-gritty details along the way. I have found many times that when we focus too much on the actual discipline portion, when we are too strict, when we start doing things just for the sake of checking a box, just for the sake of doing it because we said we were going to do it, as admirable as having that level of discipline is, sometimes that can lead us down a road of doing something for the sake of it, rather than leading ourselves towards that true end goal that we have of having a certain feeling. When you focus too much on the discipline of it, you can start to lose the benefit that you started it all for to begin with. And so this makes life easier, because now instead of, let's say, saying that you want to go to the gym 5 days a week and trying to stick to that goal, maybe you're doing that because you want to feel strong, because you want to feel powerful. Maybe you're doing it because you want to feel fit and healthy and capable. You can achieve all of those feelings without going to the gym 5 days a week. You could also go to the gym 5 days a week. I'm not saying that that's a bad goal to have, but you can be more flexible. Maybe instead of going to the gym, you go for a run, or you go to a Pilates class, or you go for a long hike with a friend. The point is that you are staying focused on the true end goal rather than getting lost in the details, which makes it easier to make decisions when maybe the strict discipline is no longer possible for you. Okay, mindset shift number 5 is understanding what a busy life versus a full life looks like, because they are not the same thing. You can have a busy life without it being full, and you can have a full life without it being busy. busy, or you can have both, or you can have neither. So when I think of what a busy life looks like, I imagine it as a hectic life, one where you are constantly running around, maybe feeling a little anxious, feeling like you can't get a moment to yourself. It's kind of that feeling of like being stuck on a hamster wheel and not sure how to get off of it, at least not without your world kind of falling apart in the process. Whereas when I think of a full life, I think of something nourishing, an enriching life, where you're spending time on the things that you want to be spending your time and energy on. Maybe you do have a lot going on. Maybe your schedule is packed, but it's packed with things that you have intentionally chosen to put there, not things that you have taken on or have been put on you out of obligation or guilt. And the thing is, from the outside, these things might look the same. You might look at someone who has a busy schedule, who's constantly on the go, who constantly has plans for this and that and the other, and from the outside, you wouldn't really know if their life is busy or if it's full. And that's because it's an internal subjective definition. And same with your own life. Only you know if something is starting to feel a little too busy or versus a life that's just feeling very rich and full. The reason this is an important distinction to make is because often we strive for or we try to create a busier life because we think that that is going to bring the fullness into it. But as you may have realized already at this point, that is not necessarily true. I'm sure we have all had phases or seasons in life where things have felt really, really busy, and yet it still felt kind of empty, like something important was missing. So when we are able to make this distinction and we are able to start to recognize what are the things that make me feel full versus what are the things that just make me feel busy, it makes life a lot easier because now we can plan and say yes to the things that bring us that fullness, and we can be more intentional and deliberate with what we actually prioritize. Mindset shift number 6 is to minimize the mundane. In other words, reduce decision fatigue. If you're unfamiliar with decision fatigue, it's basically the idea that after making many decisions, a person's ability to make additional decisions and to make high quality decisions becomes worse. And this is actually something that has been studied in many psychology studies and has been shown to exist and be a real thing. And one way that we can combat this decision fatigue is by minimizing the mundane day-to-day decisions that might not actually be all that important to us, or decisions that can be made once in a while instead of every single day. This is the same reason that Steve Jobs famously wore the same outfit every single day, because it saved him from making a bunch of decisions about his outfit before going to work, so he could save that brain power for his work decisions instead. This doesn't mean that you have to take this to that same extreme and wear the same thing every day. You could, or you can find outfit formulas where you mix and match different things that come together in the same way, or you could develop a capsule wardrobe. And obviously you can apply this to more than just clothes. There was a point at which I ate the same breakfast almost every single day because it saved me from waking up and humming and hawing about what I was gonna eat that morning. I don't do that anymore, but at the time it was actually really helpful. You can meal plan or meal prep so that you don't open your fridge every evening and wonder what the heck you're gonna make for dinner. You could have an everyday makeup look or create a chore schedule. Any form of routine, like a morning routine or a workout routine, is a great way to minimize how much thinking you need to do on a day-to-day basis so you can save your precious decision powers for what matters most to you. And decision fatigue aside, this just makes life so much easier because you have to do less thinking on a day-to-day basis. And so it's basically just choosing what areas of your life can be simple and which ones you like to be complex. And number 7, we've got personal policies. This idea comes from a book called The Life-Changing Magic of Not Giving a F by Sarah Knight. I'm not sure if I've actually read the book myself, but I know I've definitely heard this concept several times before. This idea of having personal policies that you'd adhere to is a great way for setting boundaries, both with others, but also just with yourself. And to do so in a way that feels less targeted or less personal to the specific context or situation that you're saying no to. And it helps to really alleviate the guilt that can sometimes come along with saying no to something. A very common personal policy that a lot of people have that we don't even think of as a personal policy is being vegetarian or vegan or pescatarian or any kind of specific dietary restriction. And being so not because you have an allergy, but because you simply choose not to eat meat. This is a personal policy that people can set for themselves, and it is very widely accepted. You can just tell someone that you're vegetarian and generally they will respect that. Another personal policy that is becoming more and more widely accepted and respected, which I am such such a fan of is alcohol consumption, whether that is simply limiting your consumption or not drinking at all. You could have a personal policy of saying, I only have 2 drinks a night, or I only drink on the weekends, or I don't drink hard liquor, whatever. A personal policy that I have is not participating in anything related to MLMs. Doesn't matter who's asking, doesn't matter how close we are, it's just not something I want to be involved in. You can also have personal policies related to budgeting, how you spend your money, how much you want to spend. Another personal policy of mine is not buying fast fashion unless there is literally like no other option, which happens, but very rarely. And all of the important people in my life are well aware that I do not buy things from H&M or Zara or Shein or anything like that. Having personal policies makes life easier because you can now set boundaries in a way that is not personal, that is not offensive to anyone. You're just saying, this is just not something that I do. Just the way someone might say, I don't eat animal products, or I don't drink alcohol, or I don't smoke. Your personal policy is your personal policy, and that's that. All right, so those were the 7 mindset shifts that make life easier. I am curious to hear from you what you thought, if there was a particular one that stood out or one that you are eager to try out first. Let me know in the comments below. And also don't forget to subscribe if you are into this kind of personal development stuff. I would love to have you join our little YouTube community. Thanks for watching as always, and I will see you again next week. Bye.